Hello there everyone, and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia, in my little crafty corner. So today I'm going to be sharing with you this card, and I really wish you could see how bold and bright and sparkly this is. The pictures really don't do it justice. But we are going to be in fact using some mica powders to in fact colour our image. So I am going to be starting with the beautiful Just For You stamp set, as well as a piece of black cardstock. You can use whatever colour cardstock you wish, but I do find that mica powders look really good on dark cardstock. That's why I've gone for the jet black. So I am just going to pop my base layer into position using my Misty, and I'm going to be using these beautiful mica powders to colour it in. So you can use whatever mica powders you do have, as I'm sure they will work perfectly. So to ink this up, I'm using some of the New Embossing Ink. So I'm just going to stamp this and stamp it into place, and then I'm going to colour my image. So I'm going to be using the lightest of the mica powders that I do have, and this is like a little pinky purpley colour, so I'm just going to add this on. I do find that the softer the brush, the better it does work. So, and a lot works better than a little. So you may think that you're going to waste a lot of it, but it will stick on there. So just add quite a bit down, move it around till all of that sticky ink has been covered, and you can just see how beautiful this is. It does work really well. I just love the effect. Once I have this one in place, I've then switched out to my bigger Misty, and I'm just going to pop in some leaves. So again, these are leaves from the Just For You stamp set. I've popped them into place where I want them to be, and again, I'm going to ink these up using some of that embossing ink. Now this works really well. I'm not sure there's another ink that you could use for this technique, but I would recommend using some embossing ink. And the New one is really sticky, so it works really well. Once I've inked that up and stamped it into place, I'm then going to use a light green mica powder. So you are going to want to use coloured mica powders. You can even mix them together if you wanted to. So if you didn't actually have the shade that you were looking for perfectly, I'm sure you can mix some of these together to create a different shade as well. But I did in fact have a nice light green, so I went with that one for my leaves, and just look how well that pops from the black background. So again, I'm going to pop in another base layer for my flowers, because I'm going to have two flowers here. And I'm going to ink that up using some of the embossing ink, stamp it into place, and then I'm going to use exactly the same mica powder that I used for the first flower on top of this one. So I'm just going to use my little really fine, super fine, beautiful soft brush, and I'm going to pop this into place, and you can see just how beautiful that looks. It's kind of not there 1 minute, and then the embossing ink grabs hold of that mica powder and creates a beautiful image there. I just love how it works. So once that has been done, I'm going to add in a couple more leaves. So I'm just going to pop this into place where I want them to be, close the lid on my Misty, ink them up using some embossing ink, and then use that green mica powder from before and just colour them in. I am in fact using the same brush for the mica powders on all of these. I'm just making sure that it's nice and clean before I do add it into a clean colour of the mica powder. So here you go. I'm just going to add the colour onto these. Again, I have brushed this off onto a dry piece of tissue just to make sure it was nice and clean before I did add it into the green. You want to make sure that it is dry before you use it, because it will take off the mica powder. I'm then going to add on my second layer to that beautiful flower. I love the vintage look to these. And again, I'm going to ink that up using some clear embossing powder. I'm only actually using one ink on the whole of this card, which is the embossing ink. As you can see, when I stamped that down, it removed the mica powder from that layer. So it's going to just keep the bits of mica powder that should be on the first layer, and for the second layer, it's going to make sure it's nice and sticky again. And for this one, I'm adding like a purpley colour. This was the only mica that I had that kind of went with the tone that I was going with. So it doesn't really have to work tone on tone. You can definitely mix and match the colours with these, because you're not going directly over the other colour. You're kind of removing the other one first and then adding another one in. So if you wanted to, you could create really pop art florals using pinks and blues and purples, or even a yellow on there. Even where the darker colour could be, you could add a yellow, which would be really cool. So as you can see, I've continued on and I have stamped the second layer of the second flower. And again, I'm using the same color as before. So this is like a really light lilac purple color. Again, you can use whatever color you want and you could make them really funky if you wanted to, or keep them quite classic as I've gone here. I'm now going to add on the third layer of the leaves. I did in fact only have 2 green mica powders, so I've chose to miss out one of the leaves layers, which was the second one, and I'm just going in with the third here. As you can see, that embossing ink has removed the mica powder from those leaves, and I'm then able to add in my darker green. So this is kind of like a khaki green color. It was really, really dark, but I do love the color of this on the card. I've thought that it may have not worked, but I really do think that it does. So again, once I've done those leaves, I'm going to move on to the others. So I'm going to move these ones, and then finally I'm going to do the last one in exactly the same way. So once I have finished all of the leaves, I'm then going to move on to the third layer of the flowers. So these are so pretty. I love all the detail that are in these flowers. They look very vintage, but if you made them with bolder, brighter colors, I think that you can make them look really, really modern and fresh as well. So again, I have inked that up using some embossing ink, and this time I'm going to use like a rich garnet red embossing powder to add the color in there. So again, the embossing ink, has grabbed the mica from the layer from beforehand and left a nice sticky place for me to add the rest of my mica powder there. I did find that using like a blowing tool made for markers works really well with getting rid of the mica powder as well off the background. Even when you think that you're going to need a cloth to get rid of it, that like air tool works really, really well, but you can definitely use a cloth to get rid of the rest of the mica powder that you don't want on the background, or even a harder brush as well would work. So again, I'm going to move on to the second flower on the third layer. Again, I've used the embossing ink, again, and then I'm going to add on the same garnet red mica powder as I did before. Just look how pretty and classy these do look. They look very, very vintage, almost kind of like wallpaper, but you could make them a different color if you wanted to. I just love how this looks. Again, with the blowing tool, it works really, really well. I'm then going to add the fourth layer for my flowers. I've popped it into place, and again, I'm using some embossing ink to remove that last layer of mica powder that we popped down from the places that we want to remove it from, and then I'm going to add in a darker shade of mica powder. Now, as you can see, my mica powders on these flowers have not been in a perfect color tone family. This was a really dark purple, but I found that it worked really, really well. It does add to that vintage look when the colors aren't perfect, but they do work really well as well. So maybe you have colors that you don't think are going to work particularly well. Just try them out, give them a go, see how well they work. And if it doesn't work, it was only a piece of card at the end of the day. But I do find that just having a little play sometimes really gives results that you're not expecting, but are really, really pretty as well. So once all my layers are done, I'm then going to use my blowing tool just to get rid of all of that mica powder from the background. And look how pretty that is. I really wish you could see how bold and bright and shimmery and shiny this is in real life. I just really wish you could give it a go, and then you can see how beautiful it will look in the end. I'm then going to add my panel onto a piece of onto a card base. This is a Solder White card base, and I'm just going to add a simple sentiment from the Thank You Builder stamp set. I've embossed this onto a piece of jet black card using some pure white embossing powder, and I'm just going to offset that onto a piece of pattern paper from the Essential Black and White collection. I do find that this is my go-to paper pack at this time, and I just love it so much. That little bit of black and white stripe or a little bit of polka dot really does lift a card up. And here is the card complete. I really do hope that you've enjoyed the video and you like the technique. I really would love if you could give it a go and really share with us as well, because we would love to see what you come up with as well. I do find that these in real life look a lot better than they do on the screen, and I would love to see what you come up with. So again, thank you so much for watching. If you do want to watch any more videos, there's a couple more here that you can watch in your own leisure if you so wish. Also, if you don't want to miss out on any videos that we do upload to the channel, it'd be great if you do subscribe. Again, thank you so much for watching, everyone, and we really do hope that you have a really great day. See you really soon. Bye-bye.